Another way that we can make decisions about which trees to cut and which trees to leave is to use a technique known as crop tree management. Crop tree management has been around for a long time. It was popularized by the U.S. Forest Service, but really it amounts to what's known as a crown thinning or a crown touching release. So you would take a particular tree that you recognize as a crop tree, and this is a tree that we're going to grow into the future. This particular tree is one of my research trees. That's why it has all these ribbons and different colors. What we're doing with the research is to use crop tree management to release the sides of the crown. So we can take a particular tree, it's our crop tree, and we might look to have 60 to 80 to 100 crop trees per acre. You look up at the tree and you say that it has 4 sides to that crown. Usually you want to do, and we've found that you're going to get a positive impact from doing a one-sided release. So this particular tree has 0 sides free to grow. That means every side of the crown of this tree is under some amount of competition. If we look at the trees that are next to it, we can say which are trees that don't have those good qualities that we're looking for, maybe diversity, maybe structural integrity, maybe being a lower crown class. So the tree behind it is a tree, it's also a sugar maple. It has this injury from a former sugar maple borer, and so it's also in a lower crown class position than my research tree is in. So this tree has a stripe of orange. That means it's going to be cut. We have to look out a distance and consider those trees that are touching the crown of our crop tree. So here's another tree that's touching the crown of our crop tree. It's also a sugar maple, but it's competing with the crop tree. It's not allowing it to get as much sunlight as it could get. And it has some kind of an injury here on the butt. I'm not sure what this is. It probably is a logging injury or a firewood injury from many decades ago. But this is a tree that probably has some decay in the butt of the tree or in the root system. So it's a good candidate for removal. Even though, and this is a hard sell for a lot of maple producers, even though we've tapped the tree, it's a maple tree, I know it feels like it's part of your family, but it is okay to cut a maple tree. Here we have another tree, also a maple tree. You'll notice it's not been tapped because it's less than 10 inches in diameter. It's questionable as to whether the height of this tree is tall enough so that the crown of this particular tree is touching the crown of my research tree. But because it's a research tree and we're not going to take chances with research, we're going to go ahead and cut this and make sure that it's not shading our tree. And then the final tree that I'm going to cut is this tree. Again, you look up at the crown of this tree. This has a small crown compared to the crown of our research tree. It's very compressed. It's compressed on 2 sides, and it's pushing out on the opposite 2 sides. So this is a tree that's already under significant competitive stress for sunlight. It's not a good candidate. We've tapped it. We know that even though we tap it, it's not producing the same amount of syrup or not producing the same amount of sap or the same sugar concentration as a tree that has a much larger crown. So this is crop tree management. You start by saying, what are my crop trees? You look at that tree and you decide that it has 4 sides of the crown, and then you release, usually you're going to release 1 or 2 or 3 sides. If you're in a young sugar bush where the average tree diameter is maybe 8 or 10 inches in diameter, you might be able to get away with a 4-sided release. That's a pretty aggressive cut to go with a 4-sided release. So at least 1, more typically 2 or 3 sides free to grow.